A quick update following the verdict, and also the rumours that we've heard today that their children might be taken into care.
Right, yeah, okay. On the children's thing, I think that's been prompted by the women themselves trying to set up formal fostering arrangements to try to preempt any attempt to take their children into care. So they want to make sure that they can show somebody's looking after the children. I don't think there's been direct threats from the authorities about it. The thing is, Nadia's husband Peter has been very high profile in the campaign to support her, so he was actually banned from visiting her in prison because of that. But, there is a father of the child on the scene that she's married to, so you would think that Peter would be allowed to keep, custody of the child. And the same with Marsha. I'm not sure whether she's married, but the partner of her young child, I think her child's only about 2 years old, he's still he's still her partner and has been looking after the child. So you would think that there wouldn't be any obvious reason to take them into care, unless they were saying that when the women were released, there was evidence given at the trial, and as part of the judge's verdict, that the women were somehow mentally unstable. I think there were particularly accusations put about Nadia's mental health, which is obviously complete nonsense, but I suppose there's a possibility that they could try to use that to say that they're not fit mothers, but at the moment the fathers are, as I understand it, looking after the children.
Right. How many children are there altogether?
I think they've just got one each. I think Nadia has a 4-year-old. This is the sort of pictures going around of another stunt that she took part in with her husband in a museum where it's sort of enacting a sort of orgy. I'm not quite sure what point it was making, but she was 9 months pregnant then, and that was 4 years ago. So I think she's just got the 4-year-old from that, and I think Marsha's is 2 years old. Katia doesn't have children. Okay,
so the verdict, I know was widely expected, but no less shocking for that. But what are the options if the women are to remain under Russian law? What are the options for them, Carrie?
I think the first option which they've discounted is if they were to plead guilty, then they could ask for a presidential pardon. They obviously don't want to say that they were guilty of something, and also they don't want to be in a position where they're relying on Putin's mercy. So that's not going to happen. As I understand it, the lawyers have said today that they will be appealing both to whatever the next court up is in Moscow, but also to the Court of Human Rights, because Russia is a signatory to the European Convention on Human Rights. Yeah. So I'm not sure whether they have to go through one before they go through the other, but it looks like those things are happening, and I assume there might be some sort of appeal fund to enable the lawyers to do their job properly and take it up there. But I don't know. I mean, obviously the timescale would be an issue.
Yeah.
It could take a while to actually take something to the Court of Human Rights, and they'd obviously be in jail in the meantime. And
I was thinking, if they would be required to go through their domestic courts first, then presumably the domestic courts could just prevaricate. Yeah. So I think the impression I got was that appeals were being prepared for both courts and that they wouldn't have to. But I don't know enough about how the system there works. So I would hope that it would, in some ways, you could see that an appeal to the court in Moscow is probably not likely to be very successful. So therefore it would be better to do straightforward doing an appeal on human rights grounds. Are there any other routes they could go down at all, Kerry?
I'm not sure at the moment, but I think they're the two main routes. And I would have thought it would throw up some very interesting issues if they do take it to the Court on Human Rights. The other thing that we've just heard, though, is that the Russian authorities have said they're pursuing the other women who featured in the protest in the church. They're trying to track them down. And I was told when I was out there that the police do know who these women are. They do know their identities. So that's obviously quite worrying, because if they do manage to... I think this woman have gone sort of undercover, but obviously if they're prosecuted as well, they'll be facing the similar sort of sentence and similar sort of circumstances to the three that have been convicted already.
That's horrendous, Kerry, isn't it? It's absolutely horrendous.
It would be interesting to see if they did manage to get out of Moscow, potential asylum claim somewhere. It would be quite an interesting debate to be had about that, wouldn't it? If they were escaping Russia because of the chances of being prosecuted for this. Yeah.
Do you think? Well, I don't know. What do you think is the best thing that can be done?
Well, I think we've got to keep up the international pressure. It was it's been very good so far, and I think I'm not seeing. It's always very difficult when something hits the headlines because it's actually it's happened. The trials happened, the convictions happened. But I do think that if anything, more and more people are becoming aware of it. There are a few events that I know about that are coming up, and there's a global momentum behind it, and obviously it helps that you've got high-profile musicians and other celebrities speaking out as well. So we've just really, really got to keep up that pressure so it's not seen as something that Russia feels that it's dealt with and all the fuss will die down soon. And then there is obviously on the one hand, I suppose there's potential that given the international outcry, the Russian authorities could act and release them early. But the other thing would be to go through the judicial process and try to get the right result that way.
Yeah. I mean, we were at the Strummer of Love Festival this weekend, which, as you know, is a very ethically driven festival, and act after act after act was going on stage expressing solidarity for Pussy Riot, and we've got us. In the end, we started asking them to sign something, and we've got that. But we're going to publicise. It's on our site now, and that's
good stuff. Yeah.
It's just the tip of the iceberg, though, Kerry, because in the UK, everybody understands that these women should be free.
Exactly. I mean, I've had one or two people from, who've sort of got strong religious beliefs that are, on the one hand, they're not saying that they deserve to have got a 2-year jail sentence, but I find that the people that, are saying, well, it was, disrespectful to the religion and so on, don't actually understand, they don't understand what sort of church it was and what the relationship between the church and the state in Russia is.
Exactly.
And there was a very good article by Nick Cohen in The Observer this week that explained a bit more about that scenario. So I think apart from that, people who, because I think you can still be offended by their actual act in a church for somebody who feels strongly from a religious point of view. But at the same time, I think that those people should still be joining in saying, well, 2 years in jail for doing something like that is completely disproportionate. And, particularly when you look at the conditions they're likely to be held, and that's something I'm trying to find out a bit more about now, is exactly, people talk that they're being sent to a penal colony. Well, we sort of need to know a bit more about the conditions they'll be held in. We know there's an issue about Marcia not being given. She's vegan and she's not being given food that she can eat. And I know one or two columnists made a bit light of that because Alicia Silverstone wrote to Putin saying it's a human right to be able to eat vegan food, which maybe wasn't expressed in the best way it could have been. But actually, it's quite a serious issue if someone isn't being fed food they can actually eat. So I think looking at their conditions and making sure that they have access to their lawyers while they're in jail, access to their families, that they're able to see their children, I think that's all quite important to campaign on as well.
Yeah, critical, I think, and also because we were reflecting on this, and it's not just the women that are being affected, is it? I mean, once you start talking about the deprivation of children, there's many people involved.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's something I've campaigned on and brought up in Parliament in the UK, the impact that it has on children if their parents go into custody and they don't get to see them. So we're certainly not here in trying to maintain those family relationships. But as I understand it, I know the jail that they were in on remand, which is a mixed-sex jail, that was a couple of hours from the centre of Moscow, but the place they'll be sent to now, I think, will be actually outside Moscow. So the chances of them, they weren't allowed to see their children when they were on remand, but even if they were allowed to see their children, I think the place they're going to is so far away, it'd be very difficult for that to happen. So again, that's something I'm trying to get clarities on.
Oh, it's an awful situation, I think. But so, Kerry, are you saying that to do what we can to maintain international pressure for now?
I mean,
yeah,
I
okay.
just found out there's an event going on in London on the 9th, which I think should start to be advertised.
What's that event?
I'm going to try and do something in Parliament when we get back, which is on the 3rd of September.
Yeah.
And I think it was great that the musicians at the weekend, and I've been talking to Pete Wiley beforehand, he was, I saw pictures of him with his Bella Clava on, and him and the farm, and people like that have been really good. And I know that quite a few of them are talking about putting on concerts.
Yes.
Again, we need to look at the issues of, about whether we can get money into Russia. I know that if an organisation in Russia receives money from overseas, that somebody has suggested to me that means they'll be dubbed a foreign agent or something. So we'll try and get around all those sort of rules. But the other thing, I mean, I was at a performance on Friday of the Royal Court Theatre where they had 3 actresses just reading the closing statements that the 3 women had given out. And that worked incredibly well because, they just are so intelligent and articulate.
Yes, they are.
The words, spoke for themselves. And I think, Sasha Dugdale, who did the translation, had made that available to everybody, to anyone who wants to put on a performance. And, you don't need to be an actress really to do it. If there's people that want to put on local performances of that, I think that would be quite powerful as well.
Well, I'm going to be wearing a Free Pussy Riot T-shirt to Edinburgh tomorrow when we go up there, and also we've got some other stuff coming out as well about this because
I think there was a performance at Edinburgh on Friday. Actually, I think Dean Friedman organised it, which since then I spent most of my time trying to explain to young people who Dean Friedman actually is. But
so was that last Friday?
He got in touch with Sasha Dugdale via Twitter, and she sent the translation up. And he just managed to find 3 actresses up there that would perform it as well. So they did it at the same time as the London one while we were waiting for the verdict to come through.
Oh God, that's brilliant, isn't it? It's brilliant.
I mean, it's such a cross-section of people who are, when you've got the Madonnas and Paul McCartneys and Stephen Fry's of this world, but then you've also got musicians from the punk scene who are the people that first started making an issue of this. And I think also people are seeing it as something much broader than just their case. I mean, we had Moscow's band Gay Pride from marching for the next 100 years, and they were actually taken to the European Court on Human Rights about that a few years ago. So there's, you've then got the gay community, and for some reason Pussy Riot was one of the things that was held in their verdict. They were seen as being, pro-LGBT rights and encourage what the authorities would say was sexually deviant behaviour or whatever. So, obviously those people feel very strongly about Pussy Riot's fate as well.
I think there are. I mean, certainly it was a really strong theme at the weekend at Strummer of Love, as I said, and I personally feel that there is going to be an enormous amount of support in the UK, because I think that we do understand it, and the musicians particularly understand it, and my personal expectation is that it will start and continue. And Kerry, can we stay in touch with you? Is that okay?
Yeah.
I really appreciate these chats. I think they're really helpful, and lots of people enjoy listening to you on YouTube.
That's fine. That's fine. I've been looking at your site. It's good.
Thank you.
Right, got to go out and knock on doors.
Yes.
The voters now.
Kerry,
Okay.
Thank you again. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.